Hello everyone, my name is Rob, welcome to Kinetic Rugby League. In this video, I'll be giving you my Super League Round 3 predictions. Now, in terms of a recap for last week, 6 out of 6, pretty happy with that, and that includes the World Club Challenge with Wigan beating the Panthers, so I'm very happy with that. That means 1 out of 2 perfect weeks so far, 10 out of 12 in total, which is 83.33%. But let's crack on with this week and see if we can continue this fantastic form. Starting round 3, we have St Helens at home versus Leigh Leopards. Starting with league position, Saints are in first, Leigh are in 9th. In terms of form, Saints have won 2 of their 2 games so far, Leigh have won 0 of their 1 game so far. In terms of my power rankings, I have Saints in 2nd and Leigh in 8th. I don't think this is going to be much of a contest. I do think some of the potential mitigating factors where Leigh might be able to cancel Saints out is that they've had an extra week of preparation. So all of their focus is on Saints. They've done more work on exactly what St Helens do, what their processes are like in attack, how they like to defend. So there's an extra week of preparation to really go at the exact style that St Helens put out. And they have at least two games to go off. The first game against the Broncos isn't going to be as much of an indication. Although you could argue that because the Broncos weren't as strong defensively, it allowed St Helens to execute how they wanted to, which is the exact look of what Leigh are going to be looking at to see what Saints are going to be doing, or at least attempting to do. So they have some research to go off. Saints only have the 1 game to go off from Leigh and less time for preparation, but I think given the efficiency of the attack and defence for St Helens, Leigh could put up some points, but I'm actually going to go with the same prediction I had against Huddersfield for St Helens last week, because I think Leigh might actually put up some points, given the reason I mentioned about preparation. But St Helens, even more points than last week, because I just think week on week they're going to learn. And maybe Leigh defensively, I don't know if they're going to be strong enough yet and as fit as St Helens are, nearly as fit. So I'm going to go with St Helens 32, Leigh Leopards 10. Next up, we have Wigan Warriors at home versus Huddersfield Giants. Starting with league position, Wigan are in 4th, Huddersfield are in 8th. In terms of form, Wigan have won 1 out of 1. You could call it 2 out of 2 now if you want to include the World Club Challenge, and why not? Huddersfield are 1 out of 2 at the moment. Wigan are first in my power rankings, and Huddersfield are 7th. I do think it was very possible for me to drop Huddersfield down below Leigh Leopards in my power rankings after the kind of performance against Saints last week. We'll have to see how this weekend's performances go. But I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit similar to Saints versus Leigh in that Wigan are just going to be more efficient in attack and defence. And I mentioned it in my power rankings video yesterday that as much as you might want to talk about the controversy for the World Club Challenge, that is completely and utterly fair. But what that doesn't remove are the fact that Wigan created those chances to begin with. So yes, there was the forward pass called into question, there was the double movement called into question, there was the disallowed try for Bevan French. Like, the difference is possibly an inch or less than an inch. So the point is that Wigan still created those chances against such a strong team like the Panthers. Huddersfield went from, a somewhat solid, okay performance against Leigh in round 1 to just nothing against Saints. And since I have Wigan in the same calibre, if not better right now, on paper, than St Helens, this could be an absolute slaughter. I do back Huddersfield to pick up some points, just because I don't see them going back-to-back with 0 points. I don't think they're that kind of team. I don't think they're as low as maybe a Hull or a Castleford right now, so I'm going to go with Wigan Warriors 30, Huddersfield Giants 8. Next up, we have Warrington Wolves at home versus Castleford Tigers. Starting with league position, Warrington are in 5th, Castleford are in 10th. In terms of current form, Warrington have won 1 out of 2, Castleford have won 0 out of 2. In my power rankings, Warrington are 9th, Castleford are 11th. Starting with Castleford, I wasn't expecting that performance against Salford. I really wasn't. Mainly just staying within the game, showing that resilience to compete until the very end and keep it close to really challenge. I just wasn't expecting it. So it's a good indication that against a team that's not really on it, that they can put up the points and they can maybe limit the number of points that a team score, because Salford could have run away with that game. and maybe should have done when it was 12-0. They could have managed the game a little bit better, but, you know, credit to Castleford for continuing to fight. On the side of Warrington, in terms of how they dealt with the red card, and this is something that Sam Burgess mentioned in a press conference, sounds ridiculous to say, but they managed the red card better than they did last week against Catalans. So that's at least a positive sign there. I think Max Wood is a huge positive for Warrington as well. I think maybe he'll feature this weekend. So for me, looking at the options available, yes, they've just sent Joe Bullock to Hull FC, which I think is a ridiculous decision. But if you look at the two forward packs, Warrington should be winning that battle through the middle. And that's kind of where a lot of their focus has been, directly through the middle, just trying to chip away at teams. So it's possible that Warrington could wear Castleford down this week. And if they attempt to spread the ball a little bit more, which they did do against Hull FC, again, they had to play against 12 men for a full half in round 1, and then 12 men for a full half again in round 2. At least the second time around, they had more of a go and actually came up with the goods. This week, as a Wire fan, I would like to see 13 on 13 for 80 minutes. I would like to see an actual decent performance put together. So I think Warrington's going to dominate through the middle. Castleford's going to struggle in that area. I think they will pick up a couple tries down Warrington's right-hand side because Connor Wrench and Thulis and Lindup in round 1 have been a little bit shaky. So if Castleford are moving it efficiently down their left-hand side, there may be some gaps in behind Connor Wrench. Warrington have scored a couple through the middle. So if they're wearing Castleford down through the middle, they find a couple gaps. Maybe that's how they exploit the Tigers' defence. But I'm feeling a somewhat comfortable win here for Warrington, but nothing to sing and dance about. So I'm going to go with Warrington Wolves 22, Castleford Tigers 10. Next up, we have Leeds Rhinos versus Catalans Dragons. Starting with league position, Leeds are in 7th, Catalans in 2nd. In terms of form, Leeds have won 1 out of 2, Catalans have won 2 out of 2. And in my power rankings, Leeds are 5th, Catalans are 4th. First of all, in my power rankings, Leeds certainly bridged the gap a little bit to the top 4. And mainly Catalans Dragons in that case. Of course, when any half-decent team or top 4 questionable team, like the Catalans, or it could be Hull KR, could be Saints, could be Wigan, plays against London Broncos, it's not really too much to go off. And given that my prediction was so close to what I expected, there isn't really much reason for me to expect a lackluster Catalans. What I am expecting is a stronger Leeds. That's what I am expecting. So I think there's a really close game to be had here. I think the Leeds fans will be somewhat proud of the performance against Hull KR because I don't think many people expected them to be as competitive as they were. I certainly did because my prediction was close, but I think from a lot of comments I saw on social media, people were writing them off very, very quickly in that game. Like, there's no way Leeds are going to win. And they had their opportunities to win. Had a couple sin bins in there. And they had to deal with Lockie Miller going off to bring in, I still can't remember the kid's name, whoever played at fullback, and he did a great job. But Leeds, for me, have bridged that gap to Catalans. And I think they can really offer something. They've got a well-balanced squad all throughout. Still got a new spine. I keep talking about it, but they'll learn week after week. I'm not fully sold on Frawley, but I think players such as Brodie Croft, his individual quality can kind of drag anybody through any difficult situation. So yeah, Frawley is a bit of a question mark for me at the moment. Catalans, I don't think they've actually been challenged properly as a defensive unit. I still trust them to be strong, but, you know, fair play not conceding against London. And they weren't really challenged against Warrington. So that is one of the reasons why I also had Hull KR ahead of them in the power rankings. Leeds, I think, can offer a bit more of a challenge. So that's why I think it's going to be a fairly tight game. I still think Catalans, on paper, and with their typical defensive efficiency, will be okay. But I do think a strong challenge here from Leeds is definitely likely. So I'm going to go with Leeds Rhinos 20, Catalans Dragons 24. Next up, we have Salford Red Devils at home versus Hull Kingston Rovers. Starting with Salford Red Devils, they currently sit in 6th. Hull KR are in 3rd. In terms of form, Salford have won 1 in their 2 games. Hull KR have won both of their 2 games. In my power rankings, Salford is 6th, Hull KR are 3rd. So right where they are in the table. I was fairly disappointed with Salford. I know I gave credit to Castleford, but I don't think that Salford should have been allowing that kind of competitive game against Castleford. Looking at the teams on paper, I don't think Salford should have allowed that. I do always seem to give Salford around the same number of points when I don't think they're favourites in a game. Mainly because I see them scoring 1 or 2 tries and definitely taking a penalty because it's such a Mark Sneed thing to do. Whereas Hull KR, as long as the pitch conditions are a lot better, I think they'll be a lot more free-flowing. They were sluggish a tad last week. That is literally only due to pitch conditions. Hopefully they'll have learned from some of their discipline issues because they weren't great with their discipline last week, and it allowed Leeds to stay a little into the game a little bit, especially when they were a man up. But Hull KR, I think, will be a lot more efficient with the ball. Salford, in order to not drop any further below Leeds in the power rankings at the moment, I need to see a much stronger performance. Less errors, more discipline, more points, and fewer points conceded. That might not result in a win, but just scoring more and conceding less than at least what I'm predicting here, because I think the gap between Hull KR and Salford is pretty sizable. Double that, in fact. So, with that being said, I'm going to go with Salford 14, Hull KR 28. Finally, for round 3, we have Hull FC at home versus London Broncos. Starting with league position, Hull FC are in 11th, London are in 12th. In terms of form, both have lost 0 of their 2 Super League games. In terms of power rankings, Hull FC in 10th, London in 12th. I can see, I don't know why, but I can see a very dominant Hull FC performance. As much as people might joke about how bad they are this year, I don't really think that London's going to come close to challenging anybody just yet, including Hull FC, who some people will probably have below Castleford in their own power rankings. Hull, I actually saw enough from them to think that they should be fine in this game. If they were just completely out of it last week against Warrington, then I'd be somewhat worried. Also, the fact that London didn't really have anything to answer against Catalans. Granted, it is Catalans, so that's understandable. But if, say, London had put up some more points or conceded less against Catalans, and Hull just really weren't competing with Warrington in any way, shape or form, then I'd say, well, hang on a minute, there's a somewhat close game to be had here. But Hull, they've been dealing with a bit of adversity. From what I understand, Farmani Brown will be available after his suspension was overturned. So he should be available, which is a good sign for them. They at least put up some points, even when a man down against Warrington as well. And defensively, there was a lot of scrambling, and they made some good efforts. They did give away a penalty try. But Hull, I don't think, should be too worried this week. It'd be good just to get a win under their belts and build a little bit of confidence. What I would like to see on the side of London is, against a team that is basically one of the worst they're going to be playing this year, and especially right now, is how much can they chip away? How professional can they be? Can they make sure that they pick up repeat sets? Can they have a high completion rate? Can they make sure there's no errors? Can they keep discipline as well maintained as possible? And if Hull mess up, again like they did in round 1, of course not in round 2, but in round 1, and start giving away sin bins, possibly even red cards, then the door could open for London for a first win. But I don't think there's really anything to worry about in this one. So I'm going to go with Hull FC 28, London Broncos 6. So that's going to be it for this video. Slightly shorter. Not really had too much to say on these games. I think they're fairly simple to look at. So of course this week for winners we're going to take Saints over Leigh, Wigan over Huddersfield, Warrington over Castleford, Catalans over Leeds narrowly, Hull KO over Salford quite convincingly, and Hull FC over London Broncos. If you have any predictions, let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, that's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.